Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we have another guest, Kritika, to talk about her experience from biomedical engineering to product management. And Kritika, do you want to talk about yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Kritika. I'm currently a product manager at Microsoft. The titles have recently changed from program manager to product manager, so just a note on that.
Yeah.
But I was actually a product manager intern at the small Toronto startup called Blueprint Software Systems. So I started my journey there, and then I slowly went to this company called Lifion in New York, Lifion by ADP, so it's a sub-product of the ADP company. And then from there, I went to Salesforce, which is a B2B product, and then I went to Shopify, an e-commerce product, and then that lent itself to my current experience, which is Microsoft, and I'm working at Edge Shopping today.
And Kritika actually just graduated in 2021, and she already had this many internships as well as full-time experience in product management. And we will learn about her entire journey and how she is so successful as she is today.
Sounds good.
So Kritika worked in software engineering before she moved into product management. And can you tell us what is product management and how you got into product management?
Yeah, so I started in a startup in Toronto, and the startup was called Blueprint Software Systems. Essentially, I met a manager, his name was Chris, and he was awesome. He introduced me to this field called product management. Prior to that, I did some automation and software development. I liked that work, I really enjoyed it, but I felt like a code monkey. I didn't feel like I had any decision-making power, and I really wanted to get into the nitty-gritty details of what is being shipped, what products are being pushed out there, why are we making certain decisions on the product, what data is behind these products. So I kind of used that co-op to figure out what product management was. And that's where I started reading the book called Cracking the PM Interview, because I didn't really know what product management was until that internship. And I remember telling Lydia, what is this field? I'm more of a software developer prior to that. So that's the internship that I got exposed to this field. I dig deeper, reading books, listening to podcasts, watching a lot of videos on this field. What is product management all about? How do you get products out delivered? Shipped is the term we use. But how do you ideate or brainstorm behind? What are the factors behind these product making decisions? So are we thinking about marketing? Are we thinking about scaling, growth, users? There's so many things that go into a product management position, and you're everywhere. You're playing every type of hat. You're putting on all these different hats every single day at work. Some day I'm doing data work, pulling queries. Some day I'm thinking about the product and how can we 10x the users. Some days I'm thinking about the design, the experience, the end-to-end experience of a product. So there's just so many things you're doing every day, and then you always have that technical background to support you, and it's like your foundation in this role.
So you mentioned about how you went from software engineering to product management, but how does it relate to your undergraduate degree, which is in biomedical engineering?
That's a great question. Yeah, a lot of interview folks ask me this question all the time. How did you even figure out from biomedical engineering, this field existed? I think it comes down to the Waterloo co-op system, so that's one factor. But the other thing is, I think I was very explorative in my career. I didn't just settle for the internship that I got. I thought, there's so much more to see out there. Let's use these co-ops and leverage, the co-op system we have at Waterloo to explore these different fields. So one being automation, one being software development, one being product management. And I think you can do a lot with the co-op system we have. So if folks out there are looking at internships, try to explore and dive deeper into these fields and see which one you like, which one you don't. I think Lydia and I, we both went through this journey where we try to figure ourselves out. And luckily it worked out I think my third co-op in. But yeah, I was always the type to don't just think about your degree being the foundation, but think about your experience being the foundation of what you end up doing, right? So my degree was biomedical engineering, but I think my co-ops kind of dictated what courses I take. So eventually, I stopped even taking bio courses, even though there are some bio courses in biomedical engineering. I stopped, diving deeper into the biomedical field, and I started looking more into the computer science, software engineering field. So yeah, you go through this journey, you kind of explore around, but you kind of find what you're interested in, then you dive deeper there.
So from your, last software developer experience, how did you convert your software engineering experience into product management? You mentioned that you were studying a lot, but like would software engineering help you to land a product management job? Do you think like your prior experience like made you stand out from the other people that were applying to these jobs?
Yeah.
Because like we know product management is like a really popular position.
Yeah.
So
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I do think the software, like, the technical foundation that you have, it does play a big role. I think you've experienced this as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the only thing that makes you stand out, because I know there's product managers that are just, so like just thinking about that user experience end to end, and they're very design focused. But then there's product managers that love doing the technical work. So like, writing these queries on Kusto or, SQL queries, and then diving deeper into understanding the user data, the user funnel. So like, how many folks are using Gmail today? How can we 10x that? So these are different, I guess there's different skills that you can bring to the table in this field. It all depends on what you're interested in. So there's, again, a lot of types of different product managers out there. I do think for my particular journey, I think the foundation I had in software, knowing automation as well, and how automation can speed up so many different tasks, right? That plays a role in my current role today. How can we, automate these little tasks that developers are doing, and just, they don't have to work on the automation piece, but other folks, the vendors, can work on that, and the developers can actually do the building of the product, right? So there's just, you want to get all this data and you want to scale it. So automation comes back. Then that was something I did in my second co-op, but it's coming back in my full-time career.
Wow.
So yeah, I think like these little things that you pick up along the way, they have an impact down the road. So yeah, it's good to be explorative. Like go learn different things, learn how to pull data, learn how to think about that data, learn how to code. Leak coding is a big thing. It's a big, part of our culture at Waterloo for getting jobs. But I think like ultimately think about what excites you. Because if leak coding and being a code monkey doesn't excite you, then think about what do you want to do with your career, and what skills do you want to dive deeper into and hone in on.
Can we talk a little more about your internship experience? So you had your first PM job in Canada, and then you went to the US, and then from that you kind of made your way to the big name companies. So can you tell me a little bit about like how you did that, and like what you learned from each co-op to transition then into like what you can leverage right now?
Yeah. So I think one word to sum up this journey would be a roller coaster. Lydia's been in that ride with me, but I think it started off in a really small startup in Toronto. I think I built the foundations I needed for PM. I took that December break, when you have that winter break in school, after my co-op, to figure out what PM was. Do I really want to dive deeper into this? And then from there, I really think that I was very lucky and fortunate to get this New York experience, where I dived deeper into the PM world, but on a different side of the PM world, which is the mobile product management. So I got to work on this app called Lifion, and a lot of you can see it in the App Store, but this is basically an HR app, and it's for employees to communicate with HRs and their other, leadership folks around the company. And I thought this was a pretty neat project to work on, because previously I was working on a B2B product, which is just business to business, and this was a B2C. So it's actually, like a company is talking to their employees, and we're working on consumer products. So consumers are using this product to communicate with their folks, their employees, right? So this was a whole new set of PM that I was working on, and I truly enjoyed the space a lot. And that kind of led, that built my foundation in the B2C space, and that led me to my next co-op, and that was Salesforce. And I dived deeper into another side of PM there, which is security. And a lot of people run away from security when they think about PM, but this is a pretty neat experience, because I was working with security engineers to build dashboards and understand what security or threats or risks we have, on the company products, and like just tracking those risks in a dashboard view. So that was one kind of product for our security engineers. And then I was not too happy with that experience, because I really liked the B2C that I previously experienced in the New York internship. And I remember telling Lydia about that too, that I want to dive more deeper into the B2C space. So what I ended up doing is, COVID hit, and I think it was very timely. So I was in the New York internship, and having a great experience there. I had Salesforce lined up, but I was like, what else can I do next to think about my full time? And that's where I was looking at what's happening around the world, and shopping was just booming, right? In COVID, a lot of you guys know that shopping just took off. And I was like, this is a great time to maybe enter e-commerce and understand what the PM world looks like in e-commerce. And that's where I started applying to Shopify. And luckily, I actually reached out to folks on LinkedIn. There was one PM, her name is Diana, and she was super nice to me. She worked at Shopify and she reviewed my, resume. She helped me out, editing my resume. And this is where I think leveraging your network, talking to folks, not just like, learning about the field itself or working on those skills, but networking is so important because Diana like ultimately took my resume and made it so good. And it really was like, it made me stand out in that interview process for Shopify. And yeah, I luckily landed that last internship there. And that was one of my favorite internships because we were working on the partnerships team. And a bunch of us, like there was developer interns as well. And we got to ship like, this is another type of PM, but it's B2B2C. So we're shipping, this is a whole new level of PM, but this is B2B2C. So we're shipping products from merchants who are then shipping their their websites for their consumers. So I am that PM that's managing this whole funnel. And then I got to work in the partnership space. So that was like working with Amazon, Facebook, Google, Etsy, and how do we build these experiences so merchants can leverage Shopify to, sell their products. And I thought that was the best thing that came out of COVID for me personally, was entering the e-commerce space. And then that lent itself to my last, internship, but also my full-time career, where now I'm a PM in Edge Shopping at Microsoft. And a lot of you might not know about Edge Shopping, but Edge Shopping is awesome. You can save a lot of money through coupons and cashback if you do use Edge. And yeah, that experience I think happened because of Shopify. It built my foundation in this B2B2C space, but also the e-commerce space.
I see. So you mentioned a lot of terms like B2C, B2B, B2B2C. So like, would you say choosing a domain early on would help people to get into the field you want? Because essentially you said you like the 2C components, but then you ended up in the B2B2C. So like, do you think like having a targeted vision of where you want to go and going into that specific domain would help people to like be a better PM?
Yeah. So I would say I was very, let's just go try it out and see how it goes kind of thing. And you can tell, like I went from the New York Co-op to Salesforce and Lithion was B2C, then I went to B2B. I personally think that worked for me because I was just jumping, you're just kind of like stepping into that lake, seeing, going into the deep ends and seeing how you feel. Personally, that's something I do with a lot of things, not just career, but hobbies as well. I try piano, I try guitar, you try new things, right? I don't think you really need to set, one specific domain and have that niche, like go deeper into that niche and say, yes, I want to do this from the get-go. I think go explore yourself. But personally for me, I think I found my field, my domain where I'm so happy, and that is B2C. I like, thinking about consumers, how are they shopping, what is the user behavior, how does psychology play into this, these little details excite me. And when I'm building products that ultimately a user is touching or my family is using or my friends are using, that personally just it satisfies me at the end of the day that my career is actually, impacting the folks around me. Whereas B2B, I wasn't seeing that direct impact. It's Salesforce is a great company, but the products they're building are impacting other companies, right? So Adidas, and that I'm not able to relate to that particular product and that journey, right? But when I see my friends use those products, when I use those products personally, and when I help people save money through cashback and coupons, I personally feel very fulfilled with my career. So I think to answer your question and just circling back to it, I think you don't need to have like, your domain, your career set in stone. Everything could be explored, and then slowly you can just venture off and find that specific area you're really happy with and satisfied with. And even now, like I'm still, exploring different fields, different products, and still trying to understand where I want to go deeper. But yeah, nothing has to be set in stone.
I see. And you mentioned a lot of technical terms as well, so such as like security, and you were on the mobile team, and now you're on shopping. So can you explain like how these technical concepts kind of connected together?